Record.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for hopping on tonight to learn a little bit more about executive function coaching. I'm Christine, and we're joined by Georgia and one of our fabulous instructors, Mahua, and our guest of honor tonight, Brendan. So we'll let everyone introduce themselves as we get into our agenda and keep moving from there. Let's see. Sorry, my computer is freezing up. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes. Good.
Okay, awesome. So we want to keep this as brief as possible. I just wanted to try to share as much about our process as possible. We'll keep it engaging and learn about it from someone who's actually gone through the process so they can speak to their experience. I'm going to give a quick little intro about who we are, what we do, what is executive function, what does that even mean, get into some goal setting, a little bit of framework, and then talk to Brendan about his experience. And we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions. So that's us.
Thanks, Christine. So I'm Georgia. I'm the other half of Making the Grade Project co-founders. We are executive function coaches, and we're also licensed Massachusetts teachers. And the reason it matters that we're educators is because we have had years and years of experience breaking down information so that it's accessible and attainable to all types of learners. So we've taken that experience in the classroom, turned it into our program now, where we work with organizations, we work with individuals, and our goal is to help all types of professionals to strengthen their executive function skills, to help them be more organized, to manage their time more effectively, and to reach their goals in their personal and professional lives with confidence. And we're joined tonight by Brendan Nixon, who is a colleague, he's a friend, and he is also an alum from our October coaching cohort. So he is here tonight to share some insights about what it's like to go through our executive function cohort, to share his experience, and hopefully answer some questions that you all might have. And I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Georgia. Yeah, no, that pretty much covers it. So yeah, I'm a real estate agent based in Watertown, Mass. Originally from Connecticut. I'm 29. I've been in the business ever since graduating college. I went to Bryant, and I've been up here in Mass selling real estate ever since. Little bit of a background in sales. I love stand-up comedy. I try and do some stand-up comedy when I can. Big into improv and Saturday Night Live, a lot of the different comedy standards. So yeah, I'll tell more in the interview, but I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for being here.
Super. Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely funnier than we are, so much more entertaining with you on the
Yes.
Um, but really quickly, we don't want to bore you, but would be remiss if we didn't get into a little bit of the science, like what even is executive function, right? We were talking to a client recently, and they said that when they hear that word, they kind of think of like an eye roll. Like, what even is that? But it is basically when you think about executive function, if you think about your brain almost like an air traffic control system, this is the part of your brain that manages information. It helps you to make decisions and plan ahead. So these are skills that we can develop over time. And you intrinsically, right now, just as existing, have some skills that are come easily to you. They're just your intrinsic strengths. Maybe you're a very organized person. Maybe you're a very social person. Maybe you are a person who forgets why they walk into a room and you struggle in certain areas. That all has to do with your executive function. So, to nerd out for a second, we like to focus on the 8 domains of executive function. So, these are the areas that we try to cover. We have curriculum that we cover this through, we have a framework that we use for our coaching, but this is the lens that we view your sphere and your scope of work basically. So, when we start working with clients, we do kind of like this initial assessment of task initiation, self-monitoring, flexible thinking. All of these help to play important roles in your day-to-day life, and especially your professional life as well. So this is the kind of like the overall framework that we come back to consistently. And we might not always explicitly be talking about that on a call, but this is kind of like our landing pad if we go back to that air traffic control analogy.
Awesome. So if you want to, we're going to get into a little bit about executive function and what it means with setting goals. And when you join one of our coaching cohorts, that's a big focus is what are your goals right now and how can we work on your executive function strengths and weaknesses to help you meet that goal? So this is a quote that we always like to share because I think it's really important that we keep in mind that there's not a one size fits all when it comes to anything in life, and that comes with goal setting as well. So, the way we meet success in life is when we embrace our own unique strengths and design systems that work for us. And I think this quote is really important at this day and age when we're always on social media, seeing all these different, do this, buy this planner and do it this way, and, do this Google Doc or whatever system, the next influencer is telling us about. And if we try that and it doesn't work for us, we tend to think there's something wrong with me and why isn't this working and what's wrong with myself. And in reality, it's just that that system isn't right for your executive function style. It doesn't work well with your brain. And what we do is we help you figure out what will so that you can move through your life more easily with systems and habits that actually work with your brain and not against it. Christine mentioned earlier that there are 8 domains related to executive function. There are 4 that are really closely related to goal setting. They're planning and prioritization. So that's kind of that first step of getting clear on your goals. So when you join our program, we really like that you have some type of goal in mind that we can tease out and make really specific to help you be able to reach that goal at the end of our time together. Um, Task initiation is another important domain related to goal setting because this is the domain that helps us actually start tasks and strategies. It's very easy to set a goal and say you're going to do something and then keep putting it off and not doing it. So that's something that we also help you work on. Working memory is basically you have these goals in your brain, but how do you keep them top of mind so that the tasks that you're doing are actually moving yourself forward to meeting that goal? And self-monitoring, this is something that I don't think a lot of people do enough. And it's such a simple, simple tool you can do at the end of every day, you can do at the end of every week. But really just making that time to check in with yourself. Am I meeting these goals that I'm setting? What's working? What's not working? That reflection piece is so huge in accountability, and it's often something that's overlooked or missed.
Okay, so what makes you interested in this work, or what brings you to be asking more questions about executive function coaching? Why do you think this might be something that would benefit you? If you think of like, are you that person when you see the meme that looks like a hot mess express? You're always forgetting your keys, you're running out the door, you're always rushing from appointment to appointment. Are you that person who likes to listen to like every self-help podcast and think like, this Monday, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to get my life together. I'm going to fix it all, or this planner will solve all of my problems. Think about what brought you here. What makes you think about doing something differently, trying something new? What is that little voice inside of you saying, like, this could be easier, this could be better, right? So think about that for a second.
Right. So we encourage you to think about that even more later, even write it down, talk about it with a friend. Maybe sometimes it's hard to see our own flaws and our own strengths. And so talking about it with someone can often help you kind of get to the bottom of that too. But if you have something in mind, that's great. And as you think about this, take some more time to also consider all of these domains that we keep bringing up and which ones are you looking to change or try? Are there any of these that come up for you that you feel like could use a lot of work, whereas some you might think, oh, I'm great at that. I'm great at task initiation. It is so easy for me to start a task if I tell myself I'm going to. And if that's you, that is a rare quality. So give yourself a pat on the back right now. But what comes to mind when you look at these are some easy for you, some extra hard for you. Um, and then take that a step further to think about, is that holding you back? So, say you are struggling with planning and prioritizing tasks in your life. How is that holding you back in life, in your work life, maybe in your personal life? And how are these struggles making your day-to-day life harder? And what would it look like if you had some tweaks that could make it a whole lot easier? And there's a lot of reasons why these things might be a struggle for you. Sometimes it's just that you don't have the time to sit down and figure out a better way. Maybe you haven't learned about any of this before, which is totally normal if you haven't. But maybe it's just that you've tried systems like we were talking about before that work for someone else. Someone told you about it. It was so successful for them. You tried it out and it just didn't stick. And there's nothing wrong with you if it didn't stick. There's a reason behind it, and we help you uncover that when we work together.
Yes, and so as Georgia was saying, to like when you imagine those areas of your life feeling frictionless or a little bit easier, what does that look like for you? Are you starting your day knowing exactly what to do? What would that feel like if you just woke up and you're like, I already know what I'm doing. I already have my roadmap for the day or the week or the month. What would it look like and feel like to hit your quarter one goals, or to have follow through on the looming deadline? And what would that feel like to, just feel confident that you are going after what it is that you need to be focusing on, that you are prioritizing the right things, that you have your overarching goals in mind with all of the tasks that you're doing day to day. You know that your momentum is taking you where you want to be to reach your goals long term and short term. What would that feel like for you? This is where
So,
executive function coaching comes in.
exactly. So if that sounds like a dream and out of reach, it's not. Executive function coaching is exactly what we do, and we do it in a few different ways, which we'll get into. And you're all here tonight to learn about that. So essentially, in a nutshell, executive function coaching helps you with all of these pieces that make your executive function air traffic control system to thrive. So it's going to help you with organization in all areas of your life, whether that's your physical space, your mental space, your digital space. It's going to help you with how to manage your time better and how to be consistent with your processes and your systems and how to follow through with those tasks that you set out to do that are really going to move the needle with your goals. Our coaching program is ideal for professionals such as realtors, entrepreneurs, really anybody that is in the space of having their own type of business that they're in charge, right? Nobody's telling you what to do. You are figuring it all out, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes you want to be told what to do. You need that accountability to help you schedule your week and your day and to not feel like you're working 24/7. A lot of our clients come to us and they say, I left my 9 to 5 because I wanted freedom. So I became a realtor. I started my own business as a coach, or, I'm doing freelance and I left it to have this freedom. And now I went from working 9 to 5 to working 24/7. And we worked with someone in our previous cohort who said, I want my business to feel like a business. Right now, it feels like a million different jobs that I'm doing at all hours of the day. Um, so anyone who kind of falls into that bucket, a lot of people work for themselves nowadays, and that's an area where we really specialize in supporting you. But our work can really help any type of professional that has a business related goal, or really anyone that's navigating some type of inconsistent schedule because they have so much on their plate and no one's really helping them to organize it in a way that is making them feel streamlined and successful day to day.
So for our upcoming coaching cohort, so we host four of those a year. We just wrapped up the fall, and the each cohort runs for 10 weeks. Over those 10 weeks, we begin with an initial session of kind of like an audit, an overview, goal setting, And then you'll know exactly what you're going to be working on throughout those over the next 10 weeks. We'll cover the 8 domains, so you'll look at your goal from every single one of those domain lenses, and then we wrap up at the end and talk about, celebrate your wins, look at the systems that you're going to continue using, and then plan for your next quarterly goals. These are a few examples of from our client feedback that we got as takeaways from the October cohort. So, some of our clients have walked away with a weekly organization system that helps them to organize their day to day. Saving an average of 10 hours a week by optimizing how they plan, prioritize, and follow through best. Finding the right tools. So for some people, that's learning a new app. Sometimes that's figuring out a new inbox management system. Sometimes that is figuring out a different calendar system, or even creating email templates or forms to help streamline their business. And then the biggest piece that has been spoken to again and again, whether you're in group coaching or one-on-one coaching, is the accountability piece and that customized support, which we believe in, and that you truly need to be consistent and to hit your next big goal with confidence. This is just a little
So
breakdown of the
yeah,
options.
we have
Yeah.
two options. Everyone learns differently, and our background in education definitely has taught us that throughout the years that people need different types of support. They're different types of learners that go along with your different type of executive function style. And so we have two options for the January cohort, just like we have previously. There's a one-on-one option, which is for those who are ready to really dive in. You're going to get those one-on-one weekly calls just by yourself with your coaches, and you're just ready for that really deep dive into what's holding you back and how you can improve and really meet your goal in the next 10 weeks. We also have another option for those who might not be quite ready to move into that one-on-one option. And they more so are here for the accountability. They really like structured programs where you're going to be learning a bunch of material from our online platform. We have different modules that you move through each week to teach you about the different executive function domains. And then we will also meet weekly on a group call where we'll talk about that lesson that you learned, and we'll have a chance to reflect and share out. And it's more of a group collaborative experience. So some people really like that and thrive in that experience where they like to bounce ideas off others and they're not quite ready to just be one-on-one. So this is a great option for those that feel like I really want to be in a group and I want to collaborate and I really like that live course feel where each week you're telling me, hey, this is your module that you're going to work on. Come with questions. We'll talk about it on Thursday. The cool thing about the one-on-one option is that you do have access to join the group calls if you also want to add in that piece of collaborating with other entrepreneurs, professionals in the same boat as you.
Okay. We definitely covered some of that stuff already. Um, and you know what? Do you think it probably makes sense to get into the questions? Because some of these I think are probably going to
Yeah,
be
we could save
harder.
these for after. We'll maybe
Yeah.
talk with Brendan first and then come back to these.
Yes. Perfect.
All right, so Brendan, you're in the hot seat. Thank you again for joining us. I guess we'll start out with a very simple question, which is what made you join the October cohort? What made you get started working with us?
Yeah. I'll give the most succinct version of this story. So I'm I would say, pretty typical realtor. When it comes to real estate, I think a lot of us are in the sales profession we're very big on talking, making personal connections, and really engaging and helping people first and foremost. But a lot of times where we struggle, or at least where I struggle, is that organization, attention to detail, specificity, and consistency. Something an accountant might bring to the table where, we're not having that kind of like right brain or left brain side of the equation. So I am your typical case of just ADHD where it's just like, hey, I get really jazzed up about an idea. I get so excited and caffeinated and I'm ready to go and conquer the world. And then I realize I've spent, 2 hours doing something that I really did not need to be doing. So I started in 2018. I was part-time in real estate. I got into real estate full-time during the pandemic, so 2020. And in the beginning, when you're 100% commission, you're really just trying to survive. Like you're just trying to make any deal come together because, I was from Connecticut. I don't even know the towns around here. I don't know a lot of people around here. I just kind of jumped into it. So the first step was like just trying to figure out which end was up. 5 years after that, now I'm in my fifth year of real estate. You start making more consistent progress with more deals, more transactions because you are 100% commission. So you really do need to be constantly closing. Um, and the struggle that I was having specifically is that I understood the nuts and bolts of doing a real estate transaction. I understood the nuts and bolts of getting clients. I understood the nuts and bolts of finishing a transaction, following up with someone, that sort of thing. The problem was finding consistent prospecting methods. And that is something that every single real estate agent will tell you. For 99% of real estate agents will tell you they struggle with consistently prospecting. And when they hear that, it's like nails on a chalkboard for a lot of us who are the friendly kind of neighborhood type of realtors. Those who don't treat it like a business will look at it as though, consistent prospecting is going to be me making 100 cold calls every single day. And they're hating it. That is something I used to do. So what made me join was knowing that I had the skills to be successful, but not having the systems in place to be successful. And just knowing that I was always spending time and money burning what could otherwise have been more organized.
Thank you for
Thanks for
sharing
such an
that.
honest answer. Yeah. Helpful. And I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate, to not finding the right systems and knowing that you could be doing it better. Like that idea of you know that you just need a little bit of that, whether it's organization or a little tweaking to what's already working. And yeah, no, thanks for that honest answer. Um, when you talk about prospecting and joining, what is like change your question up a little bit. When you think of the goal that you had in mind when you joined and kind of where you're at now, has that changed a little bit over time for you? And if so, why? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. So talking about our kind of like getting one listing versus the marketing plan kind of thing.
Mhm. Yes.
So I came in, excuse me, I came in with the goal of I want to get one listing, by the end of by the end of this 8 weeks. And I thought very naively that if I just threw money at this problem and I paid Georgia and Christine, that I would come out the other end with a listing just by doing exactly what they told me to do. And the problem with having a mindset like that is that it just suggests that you can do a certain thing um, really, really hard one time to get one result, which you can, but it's going to burn you out very quickly. What the goal changed to was implementing and utilizing a marketing plan. And part of what changed that goal was because in order to get a listing, you really have to be doing consistent prospecting and outreach, to cold leads. Okay, so a lot of time. And I realized after about 3 or 4 weeks in the program that, we're doing all this cold outreach, and I was getting bombarded with calls from buyers who were wanting to go and see properties and go do stuff. So I had spent years building up this sphere of influence, and I was neglecting a very big part of my income previously to try and explore this new part, which I was trying to develop. So the goal changed to, let's implement a marketing plan so that I can really hone in on the things that are already working and just make those things more organized, which is going to make me more money in the long run. So, going from having these events, I host a lot of buyer events, having a lot of buyer events and focusing on making those more organized and doing those more consistently and using my social media, which has gotten me a lot of leads more consistently, is going to outperform trying this brand new system of cold reaching out to these neighbors and people in town that have never heard from me, don't know me from a hole in the wall. So really just making our life easier by going with a marketing plan that was already working.
Awesome. On that same train of thought, can you share what it was about our coaching that helped you to become more organized and consistent to kind of tackle those problems you were having?
Yes. So I guess what, and you guys can chime in, like, what were a couple of the biggest problems to begin with? Like, I think I was working on being more consistent. My email inbox was like way, way, way overloaded,
Mhm.
right? A couple of those things.
I think you had gotten to a point where you were so overwhelmed and like had so much going on in your brain that you just kind of were a little bit frozen of like, I don't even know how to check my email anymore. I don't even know I have this marketing plan. I don't know how to like, I'm looking at it, but I don't know how to take steps towards it. You were just kind of at that point of you're like, I'm so overwhelmed. There's too much going on. I don't even know how to take the right steps.
Hmm.
Right. So when
And
you're in business for yourself, oh yeah, Christine, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and that comes from a place of because like you're that comes from a place of your strengths. Like you're very passionate, you're very driven, you're very charismatic. Like there
Tons of
you have a lot.
ideas.
Yes, like
Yeah.
you have all of the you have this huge drive and you're trying to go on like all of your ideas at the same time, is what it feels like in the passenger seat. So
Right, right,
going
right.
alongside.
Mhm.
So all of that existed, I think, because of your intense drive and passion about, what it is that you're doing. So just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Because I don't look at it that way, but I guess it's nice to hear that because sometimes it's just you're purely overwhelmed and you feel so burnt out. Um, so I guess the question, Georgia, was, what did we have to work on in order to work on those plans, right? What did we implement through the coaching program? So I guess the issue was that, all whenever you're in business for yourself, you are payroll, you are accounting, you are marketing, you are sales, you are running to showings, you are doing everything from point A to point B. You're servicing clients, you're handling phone calls, you're doing texts and emails, and you've got a plan. You're doing a big gift drop off at the end of the year for all your clients, and you got to check in and you have to prospect and generate more business because if you're not doing that, you're 3 months from now you're going to be screwed. So it's easy to get lost in the day to day, especially when it comes to putting out fires and you've got a transaction that needs help and you've got a person that needs help. So it was just a lot going on. I think the thing that helped with you guys specifically, I mean, there's literally so many things that I was gonna take notes, but just to name a couple, like the first one that comes to mind was picking three things the next day to prioritize. Okay, so I'm a big note taker. I'm a big, Apple Notes to-do list guy. And I found my notes. I had 200 and something items on my to-do list. I'm not exaggerating. And it was between paying my electric bill and, dropping off a check for this client and making a phone call again to this person. So the first thing we did was let's pick three for the next day and focus just on getting those three done. And that's such an overlooked, like, small hack because it's like, well, I can't do just three. I have to get 200 done, Like all of these are important, but it's by sitting down the night before and really thinking, okay, what do I have to do? I have to now I make this part of my day every night because of you guys. I have a note at the end of my day and I think to myself, what are the three biggest things I need to get done? And it can be putting out a fire in a transaction. It could be this thing I haven't worked on in a long time that I need to get done. It could be, this really urgent priority. So that was like one of the biggest ones for sure. I can talk about more because there's a ton more.
No, but
No.
I think that you brought up a good point that that can feel really hard and people can feel like, that's silly. Three things, I have a million things that I need to do. But closing the loop on just three things takes a bunch of a brain space away that you've been using on those three things. And it
Yeah.
frees up space to just move throughout your day with more clarity and confidence in what you're doing next.
Yeah. And then the other one of the other big ones that we did specifically, and it's not like you guys are reinventing the wheel. It's not like this is like groundbreaking information. It's all just accountability and using the right tools where they're needed. Like you couldn't hammer a nail using a drill. So if you're trying to use this system to fix this issue, but it's not the right tool, it's never going to work. So for example, um, the part where we talked about habit stacking. So that's like a big one. Obviously I've read, James Clear or his Atomic Habits. Whoever wrote is James Clear. Atomic Habit. I don't know.
I forget. Do a quick.
Whoever wrote Atomic Habits, he talks about habit stacking, and that was such an underlooked at thing in my life because I have certain things that are always non-negotiables. This one appointment every week is at Thursday from 9 to 10. My fitness coach is always on Wednesday from 10 to 11. So those things are non-negotiables. What helped me was not just taking things that I needed to get done and just plopping them in my calendar, because that's like for a person like me is like the worst thing you could do because now it's just like, oh, well, I can just, delete that or I could just go and do something else. But if you habit stack it and you go, okay, every single day after this event that I've got going on Wednesday, I'm going to do X. And that helps you with the task initiation. That helps you just get in the mindset of like, oh, yep, I'm going to do that thing. And there's a ton others, and we could talk about those if we get to them. So
Yeah, Brendan is a person who already had some really strong habits that he was talking about coming in, which is helpful because you already have systems that work for you. So then, like you said, building on top of what already is working, and then sometimes pairing the worst first, or like if you are really dreading something, you pair it with something that's like, oh, we'll get a little treat after, whatever that treat might be for you, or kind of looking at your week as like a bird's eye view. I think, yeah, definitely was a good one for you too. So many, yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking of so many. It's been a fun journey. I'm curious this one. What surprised you most about this whole process?
um, I think I think how on track my life has gotten, like, and that's a little counterintuitive because it's like, oh, I was paying you guys to help me get my life back on track, but I really wasn't expecting it to be like so life changing. Like, and I don't mean to just, blow smoke, but from the time we started, and this is like such a true story, I'm going to be very, very honest. Like, I had 864 unread emails, from last July because there were things that would come up and then I would just ignore them or I would, procrastinate them until later, and I just for literally a year, over a year, I've had emails that have been accumulated, and I'm like, oh, that thing that has to do with my car's warranty that I'm never going to get to, or like this email that I could do, but I don't really have to, I'm going to leave it unread. So, like, just so many F ups from literally just not reading an email because I had that big growing unread inbox. One of the things that we started doing was like, you have to get to inbox zero. So that was just like sit down, chug through them all, kill 864 emails. But now making inbox zero part of my day, I never would have thought I would be an inbox zero guy, but now I am. And it's like going through it. Okay, now I'm like, oh, got to respond to it, got to get rid of it, or figure out where it's going to go. That was the biggest struggle I had. Was like, hey, I have an email. What next? Okay, well, my system was just leave it unread until I could go back, but that's a terrible system. It doesn't account for urgency. It doesn't account for, how soon or how important something is. So we switched that up. And now between my email, between fitness, between my calendar, and between my to-do list, like, and then putting together this marketing plan for myself that we've actually been consistent with, it's really like changed my life. And just to put it into real estate terms, starting in October to now, I've had certain events where we would do an event and then get some closings later. From October when we started, I have had all my emails go to zero. So I have inbox zero. I have more clients than I've ever had on my list, because of just following up and keeping all the bullshit out of the, equation. And now I have three closings happening on December 22nd, which is like I've never had that happen. So it just goes to show.
Ooh, that's
So proud
awesome.
of you, Brendan. And we are so happy that we've been with you on this journey, but you have worked so hard and you've done the work, right? Like executive function coaching isn't magic, and like you said, it's not groundbreaking. It's very simple stuff, but it's accountability, it's finding what works, ruling out what doesn't and stop doing it. But you have to, no matter how accountable we hold you to do these things, you have to try. And you have done that and exceeded that. So um, you've done amazing work. We're really proud of you. And we're so happy that we're continuing to work together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going for the next year. I'm excited. And
Yeah.
thank you guys. I literally could not have done it without you. So
You've kind of already answered this, but I would say I'm going to kind of switch up this second to last question and just say, why do you think, you're able to stay at inbox zero and you're able to follow through with these tasks? Like why do you think the habits are working now where they weren't before?
Um, I think the one of the biggest parts that is so underlooked at, or so undervalued about your specific coaching. And I noticed even on your January coaching options, you didn't even include it yourselves. So we overlook it, but accountability. Like I'm sure it's in there and it was on a few of the slides, but like
Mhm.
the accountability is such a huge part. And we just check in once a week, 45 minutes, and that's enough just to be like, oh, hey, we were working on that thing. Let's keep working on it. So
Mhm.
the accountability has been really, really helpful. And then just, I would say the accountability, and then also working on keeping consistent with these things on my own, knowing that, hey, not only do I have Georgia and Christine kind of keeping an eye out and supporting me, I can go back to you guys with questions, and you'll help clear, like we'll pivot a lot. Like we talked about Trello in the first couple of weeks, being like a system, and I was like, hey, that's going to be way too involved. I like to use my Apple Notes, and you guys were like, cool, let's use the Apple Notes and let's do it this way, this way, this way. So building on systems that work, keeping continuous with the inbox zero like leads to more inbox zero. If you let it fill up to 30 emails in a day, you're going to let it fill up to 60 the next day. Um, so just the little stuff, and like I said before, the atomic habits, like those little changes
Mhm.
compound into bigger changes. So,
It is James Clear, by the way. I looked it up for anyone who
oh,
wants to read
nice.
that book. So good job.
Tip of my tongue. Yeah, no, and Brendan, you've explained previously that you don't like that feeling of not knowing what's next, like to feel like you're rushing from thing to thing, and like that you don't have like a set plan almost, or like that
Mhm.
you're like playing catch up. Like you've explained that like that feels
Yeah,
bad to you, like that feeling. And I wonder if like because when you find something that works for you, you know the cost of what it feels like when it doesn't work right now. So it's like that cost is like at what to you at this point? Like you know the cost of
right.
when something doesn't feel right, when it doesn't work for you. And I think that's powerful because I think you're probably a person who kind of needs to like see that for yourself, right? Like you'll
Yeah.
try something, but you're like, no, this needs to work for me, and that's how it sticks, right? That's why it sticks. So
Two things I want to say. So one, that point is so cogent. Um, you guys have been phenomenal at being custom to what works for me. And it's like you kind of think, like, at least in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, but really there's a way to do something. Like you're brought up in school that there's an incorrect answer and a correct answer. So you logically, if you have never been taught about executive function, think there's one way to do it. You need to sit down, do your homework from 9 to 10 o'clock, and then you'll be good every day. You guys have helped with, like, all right, like, can we make you a Trello board? And Trello being like a task management system with a lot of different check boxes, like certain jobs that works well for. And I knew kind of immediately, I'm like, okay, this is not going to work for me. So you guys were like, all right, let's use, the Notes app, and using a very simple, clean notes to-do list has helped. Um, the other thing, what you said was knowing how bad it feels to like be off course or not be doing the things you know you need to be doing. I cannot tell you how many realtors will agree with that feeling, because there's a feeling of guilt and a little bit of shame too when even if you're like not new, but if you know you're good at something, but you're not applying yourself. There's a guilt that comes from two places. Number one is I'm not spending time doing the things I need to do, and I know that bill is going to be coming up and my income is going to be draining if I'm not producing and prospecting. And then the other one is like a little bit of that emotional kind of shame of like you're not using your full potential. And I think many professionals, especially as a man, like you feel you get a lot of shame from like not doing what you could be doing at the highest possible level. So like emotionally that can hinder you. And so just being able to see that you are capable of this, you just needed these small tweaks is so empowering to like push you through these hurdles and keep you on the course.
such good points. And And yeah, no, thanks again for sharing, because it's those are things that people feel, I'm sure, all the time, that is not getting talked about enough. And when you were talking about like that kind of like there's a right way and a wrong way, I feel like Georgia and I have made an entire business off of that gray. Like that gray area is where we see people
Yes.
thrive. That's where our students and clients and everyone we've worked with over the past like few decades at this point, that's where people thrive, right? Like you need to work with what's already working for someone. They're never going to reinvent the wheel and do something completely differently. It's like, where are you successful? Let's keep building on that, that idea of
Yeah.
that you already have that within you all along. It's just, how do we bring that out in a
And I,
sustainable way?
one thing really quick that I just want to add, because I'm a realtor, like I'm sure you guys will get more realtor type clients because that's like a perfect fit for this cohort or in this program. That's a lot of flexibility, a lot of high, commission income is 100%. There's no salary, so it's a lot of you have to, produce, produce, produce. But the biggest thing, and I was looking at investing in a real estate coach this year, and I almost did. And the reason I didn't is because the real estate coaches are one trick ponies. They do the same thing for the most part. They do the same thing. They tell you, here's your script, here's your phone call, and here's your database. And you're going to call, you have 8,000 people in your phone list. You're going to call 10% of that per week. And you're going to keep doing that over and over and over and over and over and over again until you make listings. Because if you have 100 leads and you call 10 of them and two of them pick up and you close one of them, you're going to have, $800,000 by the end of 10 years from now. And it's like, yeah, but what if I hate sitting there cold calling like I do? I love talking to people and I love when I get someone on the phone, but I hate sitting there. Hello, hello, hello. Nope, stop calling me, stop calling me. And it's like, I have all these other, talents or ways of doing business that I enjoy that are making way more money, So that's a really important thing is you guys being able to work with my systems. For example, we never did any cold calling. I thought we were going to be like, let's do cold calls, let's do cold outreach. And I did that for like 4 weeks. And I was like, why am I doing this? I hate this and I know I hate this. So we went back to social media. And now it's like, let's be consistent with posting on social media. Let's be consistent with hosting events, which you do like. And now it's like, oh my God, I just had an event in what was it, November 5th. We had an event 5 weeks later, and I had 9 people show up. So it was 3 couples and then one person. And out of that group, one has already been pre-approved. One has a deal closing on December 22nd. And then another one we're planning on getting pre-approved come spring. So it's like, it wouldn't have happened unless I did the program. So
Awesome. You bring up so many good points, and what we hope to do with all of our clients is help them see their intrinsic strengths and things that they may be kind of pushing aside again because we've been told to do things a certain way and this and that and the things we see on social media. And so what we really try to do with you is like show you, remind you where you shine and what makes Brendan Brendan and why people have worked with Brendan in the past and why people are going to want to work with Brendan in the future. What makes you stand out? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of realtors out there, and there's a lot of travel agents, there's a lot of event planners, a lot of lawyers. I'm kind of naming a lot of the industries we've worked in recently. And that's okay. No one's going to do it your way. And so reminding yourself what does work for you, what you do like, and kind of working with that is going to make you happier, which is going to make you more efficient and able to sustain these habits if you actually like what you're doing. And, of course, we always have to do some things we don't like in our businesses, but there is a way to run your business in a way that you enjoy and that works with your executive function, your brain, and that's going to just help you to thrive and be more successful in your day to day. So thank you for sharing that. I'm glad we helped you to see to come back to like what makes you
Mhm.
happy and what makes you you. Um,
yeah, thank you guys.
I think our last question for you is kind of if someone's listening to all this and might be on the fence of, is this for me? Is it not? Is there any simple thing that you would tell them to help make their decision?
If you're considering it, there's a reason you're considering it. There's an issue and sometimes you need to just get over the hump. Sometimes you need to just take the day and declutter your whole house, or you need to, throw out that thing that's been accumulating in your car for, months and months or whatever. If you're on the fence, you know you're on the fence, and you owe it to yourself to take a risk. You're never going to change by doing the same thing that's always been done the same way. So if you're looking for a change, investing in a program like this it has already paid me dividends. It will pay you dividends. And the other thing is, you guys bring, and I totally didn't even realize this until today because it's just so obvious, but you guys bring such positivity. Like I was like, why am I not in the same place I was a year ago when I was doing my business on my own, right? I don't have a team. I'm not on a team anymore. I just do my own solo business, and it can get very draining if you're just out there in the ocean, just doing your business on your own. And having you guys just be like, hey, good morning, like bring the positivity. There's so many real estate coaches out there that are miserable or like they're fake, hyped. They're like hype beasts, they're like, oh, you're gonna go out and crush today and let's read this motivational post. It's like you guys are just your accountability partners. You're bringing positive energy. You genuinely care about all of your clients. I know it. And, if you were on the fence about this and you weren't to take the leap, you would be your own worst enemy for not having tried something that could potentially help your business.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brendan.
that so much. Thanks, Brendan, for all the kind words, and thanks for sharing your story so openly. And I know so many people will listen, and pieces will, I'm sure, resonate and make them think about, how could this work for me? Because, like you said, it's customizable. It's made to fit into your gray area, right? Your that piece that makes you uniquely you. So let's wrap it up here, probably. And we can, if you want to look into more resources, you can use this QR code. We have a ton of free assessments, free resources, slow productivity worksheets, all anything you can imagine using that QR code. And then I believe we have, yes, our EF assessment here. So this is just a fun way to kind of get started if you're thinking like, okay, how do I learn about this? How does this make sense for me? This will tell you your personality, 1 of 4. We haven't had a person yet who's taken it and said that doesn't track. So hopefully tracks for you as well. Learn a little bit more about your unique executive function style, and then how that can serve you as you think more about your upcoming year, and your goals ahead. And we hope to be a part of it and work with you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. That was great. We can split